life, and in essence, it became one of the most archetypical conversions in all of the Christian experience. So for all these reasons, I think it would be wonderful to have an interview with Paul, if you will. Of course, you know that is not possible. We cannot simply sit down with Paul and say, what was it like? What was it like to travel around the Mediterranean world in your day? What was it like to proclaim the message of Jesus? What was it like to have the experience of founding churches and of writing letters back and forth with the people that you so loved and that you worked with? In lieu of that, what we do have, however, are 13 wonderful letters in the New Testament that can be explored. And we also have a lot of background information that biblical scholars through the ages have discovered or have probed in the course of their plumbing of these letters for their great message. And that's what this course is going to be all about. St. Paul, his life, his faith, his legacy, and that's why I invite you to journey with me in this course so that we can get to know St. Paul better, both from his writings, which of course are most important, and also from the fruits of biblical scholarship. Now, for people of faith, Paul's writings, of course, continue to hold power. When we read them, we don't just read an ancient set of documents. We read a series of letters that could be almost addressed to us, even in our own age. In fact, Christians believe that because St. Paul's letters are part of the Bible is the Word of God, that in fact the message that it contains is as important for our day as for any other day. However, we do have to be careful that we not read into Paul's letters or any part of the Bible anything that really is not there. And that's a danger always from a modern perspective, that we want to read into the biblical material something that is of concern to us, something that we gain, but something that really is not rooted in the Scriptures. So in the course of our class on St. Paul, we're going to have to be careful about how we handle the letters, about how we read them. But in the end, I think you will find that this will be a very fruitful exercise, because you will realize that thousands of people, millions of people really through the ages have not been wrong. St. Paul is as powerful a figure today as he was in his own day, and his message remains incredibly timely. Now, there are some contexts to the setting of this class. Pope Benedict XVI, the Pope of the Catholic Church, proclaimed a special year of Paul. He proclaimed it on June 28, 2007, a year in advance of when the year was to begin, so that it was to begin on the feast of St. Peter and Paul in the year 2008 and last till the feast of Peter and Paul in 2009. Now, why did the Pope proclaim a special year of Paul? We are certainly, in the Catholic world, familiar with the fact that the Church proclaims holy years every so often. An example recently would be in the millennium, when the year 2000 rolled around, the beginning of the third Christian millennium. That was a holy year. A holy year is meant to invite not only Catholics, but really anyone of goodwill to join in a year to explore maybe certain aspects or themes of the faith. In proclaiming a special Pauline year, or a year of St. Paul, the Pope said that he had a few thoughts about what would be the outcome of this year. First, he wanted to promote the study of the Pauline corpus, we can call them, that is, the letters in the New Testament. And the reason for that was that he felt that Paul is many times overlooked in the course of simply the average Christian's exploration of the Bible. It is true to say, I think, that most of us are probably more intrigued by the gospel stories. Who cannot like a story? A story is just wonderful. It involves us right from the beginning, and we love to hear tales, even when they're so familiar that we almost know them by heart. But when it comes to Paul's letters, that can be a little more difficult to comprehend for many average Christians. So the Pope thought the first and foremost outcome of a year of Paul should be to invite people to take more time to read and reflect and pray over Paul's letters. The second reason had to do with promoting